Israel and Palestine have been fighting for a very long time, longer than Israel has actually been a country. I myself have made many mistakes in my knowledge of the Israel and Palestine conflict, and have learned quite a bit about the situation. I am Jewish, and I'm going to try to say as non-biased as I can, and I recently went to Israel and got to witness the tension firsthand. Palestinians and Israelis have been feuding for Israel for over 100 years now. That has resulted in many casualties on both sides and many misunderstandings about the two people. The three main points I'm going to go over are Israel's history and their claim to the land of Israel, the Palestinian history and their claim to the land, and then the current tension in Israel. Israel's claim goes back many years, and their claim can only be seen as increased after the Holocaust finished. The first claim is that it is from the Torah and biblical times that date back over 800 years. We get to see the claim that Jews have on Jerusalem and how it's considered their land. Rabbi Tuli Weish from Fox News says that there's over 1,000 verses in the Hebrew Bible connecting the Jewish people to the land of Israel. The Hebrew Bible refers to the Torah, where God describes Israel and tells us about his land belongs to them. Another thing we see is that Jews, unlike previous conquered civilizations, kept living and thriving and practicing Judaism when they were not supposed to in a case of a civilization being conquered. They were conquered by the Romans, Ottomans, and so on and so forth. The claim then slightly increased after the Holocaust because the Jews desperately needed a place to call home and promised a place to live by the UN. After the Holocaust, the Jewish people were promised a place that they could call home, and they were being massacred, and it actually took a lot longer than you would think for the Jewish refugees to find a place to call home. After World War II, Jews immigrated to several different countries, one of which being Palestine, until finally 3 years after the war finished, Israel was finally established. When Israel was established, the country was a lot smaller than it is today and had several different countries who claimed many different parts of the land. The country was split in half and had a small part being Jerusalem that was split so that all religions can go there and practice their craft. On the other hand, we have Palestine, who have a completely different yet very legitimate claim for Israel. Palestinian history claims Israel as their home, as well as Jerusalem, for many very legitimate reasons. Palestine claims goes back also several years back in history. It comes from the Quran, which tells us about the Prophet Muhammad ascending to Jerusalem, where he talks to God. And in Islam, the first Qibla was in Jerusalem, and the Dome of the Rock is the oldest Muslim monument. Daniel Pipes tries to show how Arabs were making Jerusalem into a so-called call to prayer. He said that they may even have hoped to make it equal with Mecca, and the first Umayyad ruler, Muawiyah, chose Jerusalem as the place where he ascended to the caliphate, and he and his successors engaged in construction programs, religious edifice, and placing roads in the city. After the Ottomans conquered Israel, many different religions used Jerusalem as their place of worship. Palestine was partitioned into a Jewish state of Israel and the Arab state of Palestine, now known as the Gaza Strip, which later split into Hamas controlling the Gaza Strip and the Palestinian government who lived in the Western Bank. Hamas split from them. Now we move on to the more recent state of Israel and how we get along with the current day Israel. And now let's gander on to the state of Israel and the Palestinian conflict is doing lately. Israel overall is a very small country that is surrounded on all sides by enemies. At the beginning of the UN gave the Jewish people a very small amount of land intertwined with Arabs living there. Then there was the Arab and Israeli war within the same year that Israel was established, which increased the size of Israel because Israel had won the war, further than the land that the UN gave them. Palestinians did not like this newly made Israel, and the surrounding Arab state tried to take some of the land back, sadly losing to Israel, creating many refugees that still exist to this day. They fled mostly to the Gaza Strip. Then years later, the 6-Day War happened, which was a massive blow again to the Arab neighboring states, increasing the size of Israel again, vastly this time. Over a period of time, Israelis pushed Palestinians out of the West Bank, which created several very violent outbreaks where many Israelis and Palestinians died. Neither country wanted to compromise, Hamas, who are the Palestinian extremists who wanted the end of Israel, and Israel, who wanted peace. At this point, Israel decided to build a wall and try to handle the situation instead of solve the peace. So they had barricades to separate them. There have been several attempts at a treaty, and currently there are less outbreaks, although they do still exist. Although Palestinian and Israelis are still not happy, they are living amongst each other. Neither side are fully fulfilled with the situation. So overall, both Jews and Arabs have a very legitimate claim to the land of Israel. So this feud between them makes a lot of sense, and although we all want the fighting to come to an end, there doesn't really seem to be an end in sight. The three main points is the Israeli claim, the Palestinian claim, and the current state of the conflict. Palestine and Israel have been fighting for a while now, and as a result, there have been many casualties and many misunderstandings about the two people and their history and current feuds. So overall, think a little before you insult someone, and maybe it's a good idea to stay familiar with what is going on in Israel and the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians. Thank you.